Hi, I'm Sean from Fidelity Factory. The video you're about to watch or the blog post you might be reading right now is the third installment in our hazard reporting scenario. This is a standalone flow that we're going to be working through today. You may be familiar with this Power App that we see right now or the other flow. We're building a third flow in this case that is going to do a recurring pattern to look for items that haven't been resolved. So let's get started with the build of this flow. We're going to go back to the Flow portal. You can go to flow.microsoft.com, and that's going to bring you into what we see here, the homepage of the Flow portal. To get started, we're going to click on Create, and in this case, from the Create screen, we are going to do a scheduled flow. In this screen, we're going to provide a name, and we're going to call it Hazard Reporting Daily Report. As for the schedule, we're going to start it on the current date, and we're going to do it every day at 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 a.m., and we're going to repeat it every day. So that sets up our recurrent schedule. Now we can click on Create, and we'll find that the trigger is automatically set up for us. We know that it runs every day. If we wanted to ever adjust that, we can click on Edit, but we don't need to. We're happy with how that's been set up, and we're going to go ahead and add a new step. To start things off, we're going to click on Get Items. To start this off, we're going to specify Get Items, and Get Items from Sharepoint is the action we'll use. In this case, we want to choose the site we've been working with, incident reporting in our case, and our hazard report list. So we've chosen hazard report, and we're going to go into show advanced options for this action, and we're going to add in a couple things. So the filter query in this case is going to be status equal to under investigation. So we want to get all of the items that are under investigation. And then we are also going to specify an order by created descending. So we want to see all of the items that are under investigation in a descending type order. The next thing we're going to do is a data operation. So if you're not familiar with data operations, these are really great after you get some data, for example, out of a get items call like we have here, and we want to do some things with the data. So in this case, we want to perform a select. So we're going to change some of the columns that are displayed. Using the select, we're going to specify which columns we want to work with from the data source. So right there, we can see that the get items value is specified and available, and now we're going to map some columns. We'll do the ID, and we're just going to run a selector for the dynamic content, the description, created. For the created by, we are going to specify the created by display name, and that really completes our select action. So the next thing we need to do is add a new step, and we're going to create an HTML table based on the outputs of that select action. So the select action reduced all of the columns essentially that were returned out of the get items, and then we want to render that as a table. So from the output of the select action, we're going to create an HTML table, and then finally we're going to email it out. So we will use the email action, which you're probably familiar with already. Send an email, and then we want to specify the subject as the items under investigation, and we will go into HTML mode for this, and then we're going to take the output of the previous action, create HTML table. That completes the work of the flow. So we're getting the items out of Sharepoint that are under review. This call actually sorts them in a descending order, so we can see them sorted in a date type of direction. Next, we're reducing the columns, creating the HTML table, and emailing it. So I'm going to save that. And oh, we forgot to specify who we're sending it to, which is always important with the email action. So I'm setting it right into the flow. You could, in a more advanced scenario, look that up somehow, but we'll save it and finally test the flow. I'll perform the trigger action. We can save and test, and it's going to tell us that we can run the flow, which I've just done, and it started successfully. So let's go back to the main flow page for our flow here, and we can see that we have a successful run. Let's go into that in the run history, And this gives us more details about what happened there. We can see the trigger worked, we got the items, that all worked successfully. We can tell by these green check marks. We reduced the column set and then created the HTML table. To run this through, we'll go over to our email and let's have a look. Here's the table that was created. So now we can see that there are 2 items in the under review status and a bit of information about each one. What was the ID, what was the description, and some information about when it was created and who created it. So you can imagine this being useful as a little reporting tool. Obviously, we may want to do a little bit more formatting on the data if we're sending it out regularly, but this gives you a foundation, I think, to get started with. So with that, that completes the 3rd installment of our hazard reporting scenario. Now you have the ability to see how to create a daily report based on the data. So with that, hopefully you enjoyed the video and we wish you luck in your building, and stay tuned. There may be some more additions to our hazard reporting solution.